traffic on the 10.
We have slow traffic from the north split to approaching 21st
A local
Street.
CEO hopes to make your smartphone even smarter. He and the National Association of Broadcasters say it's because this little one can do something your big smartphone can't.
And Jeff Smulyan of MS Communications says in an emergency, you'll want the ability of that little phone.
Unfortunately, though, with a few exceptions, he says what this one can do is not available in this country. Our phones are with us all the time. At a Pacers game,
Hibbert laid it in with the left hand.
we might check this screen more than we notice a screen down there. We talk, we text, we tune in. But we can't hear everything. Not the way Jeff Smulyan says we should.
The fact is that most cell phones, smartphones, have an FM radio in them. It's just never been activated.
That's a big deal to someone in his business. Jeff Smulyan runs MS Communications.
Here's the Redneck Yacht Club from Craig Morgan.
His company owns Hank FM, WIBC, and other radio stations all around the country.
Hey, I got a checkbox, man. Okay.
Radio people want you to be able to use your phone to hear their broadcasts. Smulyan says it would be easy to do just by activating a little chip in our phones. It works overseas. This little gray Motorola can't compete with this popular smartphone in most ways. In fact, since this one is designed for Europe, you can't even make phone calls with it around here. But it does make a fine little FM radio.
Pacers by 3.
Smulyan says American phone companies could do it. They just don't want to.
And they said, yeah, we'd rather sell people music.
The cell phone industry says it's not that simple, technically or legally.
We don't think that the government ought to be in the position to tell us that every phone ought to have this capability.
He says Smulyan's chip campaign is just how an old business fights new competition.
He's trying to figure out how to transition his business from a, if you will, a 20th century business model to a 21st century business model.
And the cell phone people say you don't need a chip if you have an app. That'll give you all the radio you need from anywhere by streaming it to your phone.
You can download an application and listen to exactly what you want to listen to.
93 WIBC News Time is 6:05.
When you want to listen to it. That's very appealing, and that's creating a real challenge for the radio industry.
Now, Smulyan says eventually data charges will catch up with customers who use their phones that way. But he says there's a better reason to activate the chip for local radio.
Because it's really the best way to alert the public in an emergency.
He says if a tornado's coming, using the phone as a radio could be a lifesaver. Carpenter says a text message system would be enough. Smulyan doubts it.
I didn't know until I started this that 40% of the American public has never sent or received a text message. They don't know how to do it.
And they don't know about the FM chip.
We've had research that people said, oh my gosh, you mean you could do that? Wow, that's a great idea.
410, traffic and weather together.
The cell phone people say the radio people need to convince their listeners that they not only need it, they want it.
Our guys will beat the tar out of each other to provide a solution for consumers if that's what the market says it wants.
Now, Smulyan can take comfort in knowing the people who make BlackBerry phones have set up 2 of their new Curve models to work as radio receivers. And cell phone people say a text message system will be enough. In fact, Jot Carpenter says a nationwide alerting system that uses that technology will be in place by this spring. Its messages can be targeted to areas under weather warnings, for example.
I never realized. That's very interesting.
And they could specify if it's just for Marion County, they could just send the warning to phones in Marion County.
Okay.
So
less cry wolf syndrome because it's more direct.
yeah, so that's what they're saying. Yeah. And then it would be a 90-character message that might just say tornado coming, tune into TV or local radio.
Wow.
So
wow.
They have a lot to settle on.
Yeah, it looks like Jeff's going to be doing a little lobbying there, you know.
He has been, too.
Yeah.